Imagine a family so powerful. They didn't need a throne to rule, nor a sword to conquer. They never marched with armies, never claimed lands, and never gave speeches from golden balconies. Yet, somehow, they shaped the rise and fall of nations, not with force, but with finance. Their influence moved quietly, like smoke in the halls of power, in sealed letters, secret loans, and whispered deals between kings. They didn't just watch history unfold, they helped write it. For over 250 years, one name has lingered in the shadows of every major turning point in Europe: Rothschild. To some, they were banking geniuses, the architects of the modern financial system. To others, they were puppet masters, hidden hands behind wars, revolutions, and empires. The truth? Somewhere in between, and even more fascinating. Some 500 years ago, when the Rothschilds lived in Frankfurt, their circumstances were far more modest than you might imagine. Poorer, in fact, than many families today. Even 30 people crammed into tiny houses, living like chickens in a barn. They couldn't afford a larger home, nor were they permitted to buy one. This wasn't a temporary hardship. It lasted for 200 years. But time, as it always does, brought change. In 1712, the Industrial Revolution began to take shape, like the steam engine and new textile mills. These innovations transformed the world. What once took months to produce in small quantities was now churned out in massive volumes within weeks. From America to Europe, merchant ships crisscrossed the seas, transporting rich goods, textiles, silk, carpets, coal, and tea. And among those businesses, one took off: money exchange, a vital service to the merchants who needed local currency to trade. The Rothschilds, originally small-time money changers in Frankfurt, were positioned to ride this wave. But it wasn't until 1760 that a young man from their family would seize the opportunity to change their destiny. That man was Mayer Amschel Rothschild. Amschel's father, Moses Rothschild, was a money changer and silk merchant. He had dreams for his son Amschel, hoping he would become a rabbi, a Jewish scholar. However, fate had other plans. When Amschel was just 12, his father passed away, and the family's situation grew desperate. Instead of following his father's religious path, young Amschel was sent to Hanover to work as a trainee in the banking firm of Simon Wolf Oppenheimer, a fellow Jew. The Oppenheimer family had business ties to the Rothschilds, which made it easier for Amschel to secure a position and learn the ropes of the banking world. After working for 8 years, Amschel returned to Frankfurt in 1763 and set up his own business. He started with money exchange and even began selling antiques. Germany, at the time, wasn't a unified nation, but rather a collection of independent states, and Amschel understood the political landscape well. He quickly made connections with William I, the ruler of Frankfurt, who had a passion for antiques. Through gifts of rare coins and antiques, Amschel built a rapport with the ruler, eventually landing a profitable business relationship. By 1769, he had earned the title of Court Jew, a position that granted him significant influence. As time passed, the Rothschilds grew wealthy, particularly when Napoleon Bonaparte's forces attacked Frankfurt in 1806. Legend has it that the ruler entrusted his treasure to Amschel before fleeing, knowing he would keep it safe. During the French occupation, Amschel allegedly buried the treasure in his garden, ensuring it would remain hidden from the French troops. Years later, in 1815, Napoleon was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, and Frankfurt regained its independence. Amschel's heirs unearthed the treasure and returned it to the ruler, earning their gratitude. William I, impressed by their honesty, allowed the Rothschilds to manage the city's wealth at a low interest rate, a move that further increased their fortune. By the time Amschel passed away in 1812, he had set up his 5 sons in major European cities: Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. These cities would become the foundations of the Rothschild banking empire, with each son making huge loans to European governments and amassing immense wealth. However, as the Rothschild family's wealth and influence grew, so did the conspiracies surrounding them. Rumors about their control over Europe's financial systems began to spread, especially after Nathan Rothschild's supposed actions during the Battle of Waterloo. Though later debunked, this theory became one of the earliest and most famous conspiracy narratives about the Rothschilds, laying the groundwork for many more to follow. At the same time, another story was brewing, one that would stir imaginations for generations. In the deeply anti-Semitic environment of 19th century Europe, the Rothschild family, already incredibly wealthy and influential, became the target of bizarre and fascinating conspiracy theories. One of the earliest and most famous of these theories came from a French journalist named Georges Derneville. But Derneville didn't write under his real name. He preferred a more dramatic alias. He called himself as Satan. Yes, seriously. In 1846, Derneville published a pamphlet that painted Nathan Rothschild, the London-based Rothschild brother, as a master manipulator of markets and wars. According to his dramatic tale, Nathan was actually present on the battlefield of Waterloo in 1815, standing beside the British commander, the Duke of Wellington, as Napoleon's army crumbled in defeat. Nathan, according to the theory, was one of the first in the world to witness Napoleon's downfall. The moment he saw the French army lose, he didn't stick around. He immediately raced toward the French coast, reaching the shores in a desperate hurry. But there was one big problem. The English Channel was roaring with stormy weather, and no sailor was willing to risk the deadly crossing. Well, no sailor except one, after Nathan allegedly offered him a massive bribe. According to this tale, the sailor took the risk, and Nathan made the treacherous journey back to England, cheating death in the process. Once in London, Nathan kept the news of Napoleon's defeat to himself. He didn't share it with the British government. He didn't tell the press. Instead, he rushed straight to the London Stock Exchange. At the time, stock prices were rock bottom, as everyone still believed Napoleon might win. And what did Nathan do? He bought up as many shares as he could, quietly and quickly. Then, just a few days later, when the news finally reached London that Napoleon had indeed lost, the stock market exploded in value. Nathan had bought low, and now he could sell very, very high. Derneville claimed he made a jaw-dropping 20 million francs in profit. With this windfall, the story goes, the Rothschild family bought up huge shares of the Bank of England itself, essentially taking control of Britain's economy. This tale became the first major conspiracy theory about the Rothschilds, shaping the way many viewed their wealth and influence. It sounded like something out of a movie, too dramatic to be real. And modern historians agree, because here's the twist. None of it holds up to the facts. Nathan Rothschild was not at the Battle of Waterloo. There was no storm in the English Channel at that time. And while it's true that he received word of Napoleon's defeat before most people, he didn't profit from it in the way Derneville described. In fact, he reportedly informed the British government immediately. Still, the story was so juicy that even the Encyclopedia Britannica, yes, the Encyclopedia Britannica, quoted it in their 11th edition, published in 1910. They later realized their mistake and removed it with an apology. But friends, this was just the beginning. The Rothschilds have been tied to many more theories, some false, others surprisingly true. One of the most significant and factually grounded is the Rothschild connection to the creation of the State of Israel. This isn't myth, it's history. Starting in the second half of the 19th century, the Rothschilds became open supporters of the Zionist cause. Around the same time, Jewish efforts to establish an independent homeland in Palestine began to gather serious momentum. And guess who backed those efforts? The British Empire, which was a global superpower at the time, supported the movement. And within the Rothschild family, James de Rothschild, head of the Paris branch, played a leading role. After his death in 1868, his son Alphonse Rothschild took the reins, not only of the family business but also of their philanthropic mission to support the Jewish cause. But it was Edmund James de Rothschild, Alphonse's younger brother, who made the biggest mark. In 1882, Edmund funded the establishment of Rishon LeZion, one of the first modern Jewish settlements in Palestine, located just south of the coastal city of Jaffa. His initial donation, 25,000 francs, was used to drill wells and provide water. He didn't stop there. In 1909, he also helped establish Tel Aviv, a city that today serves as Israel's financial capital and houses the embassies of many countries that don't officially recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. And near Tel Aviv, he supported the creation of Petah Tikva, another thriving Jewish community. Edmund Rothschild had financed 28 Jewish settlements in Palestine, spending a total of £5.6 million. That's why Israeli Jews still call him the benefactor. In Tel Aviv, Rothschild Boulevard, one of the city's main roads, is named in his honor. And many other places across Israel also bear the Rothschild name. One such town is Zikron Yaakov, named after Edmund's father, James Jacob Rothschild. But the Rothschild support didn't stop with settlements. After World War I, Edmund's son James de Rothschild helped purchase at least 125,000 acres of land in Palestine for Jewish agricultural and commercial use. Even earlier, in 1901, Zionist leader Theodor Herzl approached the Ottoman Caliph Sultan Abdul Hamid II, offering to pay off the Ottoman Empire's debts with Rothschild financial support if he allowed Jewish settlement in Palestine. The Sultan refused, famously declaring, "I will not sell even an inch of this land because it does not belong to me, but to the entire Ottoman nation. My people paid for this land with their blood. If someone wants it, they'll have to take it by force." Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire was collapsing from within. The Young Turks, a reformist group within the empire, overthrew Sultan Abdul Hamid in 1909. Then came World War I in 1914, and this time the Jewish struggle for Palestine went into overdrive. The British raised a special force called the Jewish Legion, composed of 5 battalions. It fought alongside the British Army in Palestine. And who joined the fight? James de Rothschild, Edmund's son, served as a major in the Jewish Legion. Anthony Gustav Rothschild fought at Gallipoli and was badly wounded. Evelyn Rothschild, from the British branch, was killed in action during the Battle of Al-Mughar Ridge in 1917. While some Rothschilds fought on the battlefield, others fought with influence and diplomacy. Lionel Walter Rothschild, another key figure in the family, was a passionate Zionist. He served as vice president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Britain's most powerful Jewish organization at the time. He used his position to lobby the British government and media, pushing hard for a Jewish homeland. His efforts paid off in November 1917, when he received a letter at his home in London from British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour. This letter, known as the Balfour Declaration, promised that the British government would support the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine. Though the letter didn't say what the Jews had offered in return, Many believe this support was Britain's way of securing Jewish influence during the war. The rest, as you know, is history. Britain won the war. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. Palestine came under British control. Jews from around the world began migrating there in large numbers. Tensions with the Arab population erupted into civil war. Then, after World War II, Britain fulfilled the promise of the Balfour Declaration, and in 1948, the State of Israel was born. Even after Israel's establishment, the Rothschilds didn't walk away. James Rothschild, the same major from the Jewish Legion, donated £1.25 million to build the Israeli parliament. His wife, Dorothy Rothschild, gifted the building that houses the Israeli Supreme Court. When people say the Rothschilds were behind the creation of Israel, it's not a myth. It's documented history. From financing early settlements to fighting wars, to lobbying world powers, and even donating buildings, the Rothschilds played a central role in every phase of Israel's foundation and growth. Rather, they have practically fought on the battlefield and given their lives. So we can say with full certainty that the Rothschilds behind the establishment of Israel is a historical fact, not a conspiracy theory. When we look back at the story of the Rothschilds, from the shadowy whispers of conspiracy to the undeniable pages of history, one thing becomes clear. This family's influence has been anything but ordinary. They've been painted as masterminds behind world-changing secrets, accused of manipulating wars and markets, and praised as nation builders. Some tales about them are pure myth, thrilling but baseless. Others? They're written in stone. Financial muscle, political lobbying, and even bloodshed on battlefields. The Rothschilds were there at every turn in the road that led to the birth of modern Israel. They weren't just financing history, they were living it. Whether you see them as powerful benefactors or symbols of controversy, their legacy continues to stir debates even today. But one thing is certain. When history speaks of influence, the Rothschild name echoes loudly. And this, dear viewers, is just one chapter in the incredible saga. More theories, more facts, and more untold stories await for us to be uncovered. So, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon until next time. Stay curious.